Alright, we're going to talk about actually creating a Photos folder on your disk and transferring the files into Photos. Photos is going to become a very important part of your life in your archive. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Alright, what we're looking at here are two volumes. One is the SD card from the camera, and here is the archive that we formatted previously. If we open this up, you'll see that it's blank. Let me give you another way you can actually go find your way to that. You could go here to Finder, and then you notice down here, in addition to these other folders we had to look into your computer, we actually have the devices that are connected. So here's JH Archive, and also this is the SD card. So if we went to JH Archive at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it using the rows, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up your archive by the most important part is to create a new folder at its root. And to do this, I'm going to create a new folder, and there's a couple ways you can do that. One is you can hold down the Control key and hold down the mouse and click New Folder. That creates that. That's an easy way of doing that. Another way of doing that is to hold down Command-Shift-N, and that'll create a new folder. Or maybe even all that's way too complicated, and the most simplest way is to go up here to the pull-down menu and say New Folder. But notice also here is the secret password or the secret keyboard shortcut to actually get to New Folder. Right? So we have a new folder. Now we're going to call this new folder because this is a folder that exists at your root. So any folder that exists at the root level of your volume is the most important thing to the archive. So we're going to call this, and from now on, it's going to call Photos, and that's capital P, lowercase h-o-n, not phone, Photos. All right, Photos, and it should look exactly like that. Now it's important to understand that that shouldn't be a 0, that should be this can be an O, no zeros, no 5s, no F. It's going to be Photos, and it should say just Photos. It shouldn't say class photos or anything like that, just Photos. Keep it real simple. Believe me, when we start getting into analyzing where things are on the archives, the first thing we want to say is where's your Photos folder and how is it organized. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create another new folder. So we can do this using once we're in this folder, we can actually then create a new. So we highlight Photos, right? So that means this is where the new folder is going to go in here, and we go pull down menu, go New Folder. Of course, that's one way of doing it. Or we could do the Control mouse click folder like that, and either one will work. And in this case, anything that's going to be in the Photos folder from now on, all the way down this column, is going to have a special format, and we need to put a date as well as a descriptor. And the date and the descriptor are separated by a underscore. All one letter, no spaces, and also we're going to introduce you to a new format. To how we have to put this together. So follow me here. Here we go. Okay, so since it's 2015, we're going to put in 15. And since this is September, we're going to put in 09. And since this is actually the 7th, we're going to put down 07. So it is, September 7th of 2015. It has to be in this order: first the year, then the month, then the date. Then everything is all done. Notice also there's nothing in between. There's no periods, no dashes. All that has to be out of there. That's illegal for the archives. The next thing is going to be an underscore, so that's shift space. Not shift space, but shift hyphen. That gives you a underscore. And then from there it should be a description. In this case, we're going to describe it for our first lab exercise. We're just going to create a real easy thing. So we're going to put lab, and then we're going to do this all in Camelcase, which is the first letter is capitalized, and then the next letter is started with another capital X exercise, and then we're just going to put 1. So that's the name of it right there. So you have the date. That's 2015, September, on the 7th of September 2015. Separated by a underscore, no space, and then capital LAB and capital exercise 1. This is referred to Camelcase. We use capital letters as a way to separate different words, and also it just reduces the amount of space by doing that. Now, this is how we're doing it for the first exercise, but I could also have made a new folder that said 150907 underscore, and then it would be something like, because I know the pictures were taken Universal, at Universal Studios, and then it was with Sandy, and we put it in that way. So that would be a description to me to let me know what I'm doing. But for this, in this case, what we're going to do, we're just going to throw this one away and just work with the lab exercise at this point. All right. So to do this, then we open up the SD card. We have to go through this little exercise in which we have the DCIM, and usually there's another folder in here. I'm going to grab this all the way down to here, and I'm going to then drag it into this column, and that's the column that's the root of this folder. Give you a little exercise of understanding what this is. This folder here is a child to this parent, so this is the parent folder to this child, and this child file is a child to the parent folder of this one. So that's how we talk about child-parent relationships. Folders. That's copied over. You can probably forget that what I just told you, but that's how you actually set up your exercise. And then as we keep adding more folders, they're going to keep adding them more and more down through this whole thing here. Just keep adding more folders as we go along. All right. So now you have your folders transferred over, and once they're transferred over, you're all set. Now, we can look at this a couple different ways. If we look at this as a list, like this, you can see that. We can go back a little farther. This one, let me do this. Let's go back to the Photos folder. List. Okay, let's do this. Let's look at it this way. Click on this. Look at it as a list like this. That's another way of doing it. The most important thing is this photos is at the root of your drive, and it's to stay just right where it's at. Once the images are put into these job folders, that's what we're going to call these things, job folders. Once they're put into job folders, then they're just going to stay there. We're not going to move them. They stay right where they're at. And as we make this archive larger and larger, you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of these folders in this photos folder. All right, that's what you do. And once you have this file been backed up, then you would take this volume, the SD card, and take it back to your camera and reformat it. And that's how you would get rid of the files that are on your card, is to reformat that. So in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to unmount this, because we're done with it now, and go from there. So that's how you transfer your file folders. And so that you want to put it in a special format, photos, and then right after that, a job folder that's named like this, and then your files will be inside that. If I were to look at it this way, it's folders in there like that. That makes sense? I hope so. If you have any questions, ask your instructor.